Well, first off, the country's divided in so many different ways. It's divided between left, right, conservative, liberal, and there's so many other different ways. I mean, by race, by religion, you name it, the country's split. And you're going to be disappointed in this answer, but nobody's going to step up. If you're feeling like you're falling behind or whatever, nobody's going to step up from the government or anywhere else to save you. This illustrates exactly what you, myself, and a lot of other bloggers have talked about over time, is that you need to become as self-sufficient as you possibly can. You need to protect yourself, your family, because no one else is going to do it.
Across global markets, a dangerous quiet is setting in, a silence that precedes something far greater. The signs are everywhere: deep fractures in trade, relentless geopolitical tensions, and an accelerating flight from the US dollar. Bill Holter, one of the most unflinching voices on systemic fragility, warns that what lies ahead is not merely another cycle of financial volatility, but a financial war, one so profound that it will redefine how nations trade, how wealth is stored, and how societies function. At the heart of his concern is silver. Long overshadowed by gold, silver is now moving into the center of the storm. Holter points to a looming short squeeze, where the paper promises that dominant silver trading will collide with the brutal reality of finite physical supply. In such a squeeze, price movements would not be gradual. They would be violent and disorderly, with values surging far beyond traditional models of forecasting. In his analysis, silver is not just another commodity. It is the fuse that could ignite systemic failure in the financial system. Gold, meanwhile, has already asserted itself as the anti-dollar, moving higher as trust in fiat currencies continues to erode. Holter argues that foreign central banks understand this dynamic better than most Western investors, quietly amassing both gold and now silver in preparation for a post-dollar world. The confiscation of Russian reserves in recent years accelerated this trend, convincing many nations that the only true safe haven is borderless, universally accepted, and immune to political coercion. In this unfolding war, gold is the shield, but silver may be the spark that forces change at a speed no government or institution can control. Equally striking is Holter's domestic warning: there will be no savior, no government, no institution, and no authority will step in to rescue households or investors caught unprepared. The United States, already split along political, cultural, and economic lines, is not positioned to respond collectively when the storm breaks. This, he cautions, is why individuals must take responsibility for their own security, both financial and practical, before the crisis arrives. As we move into his interview, we'll examine Holter's arguments in detail, from the immediate signs of stress in the dollar and bond markets to the geopolitical maneuvers that reveal the early stages of a financial war. Stay with us until the end for his stark but invaluable guidance on how to prepare for what's coming. And if you find this analysis urgent and important, please support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. We appreciate the support and hope you enjoy the video.
Yeah, it's not dollar strength, it's dollar weakness. We're less than half a point off the 96 level, which would be a new low for this move. Another thing that I've been watching, and I think might have talked about it with you a month back, is the yield on the Japanese bonds. The 30-year yield now is over 320, and that was it was a resistance point. We've gone through that. And I mean, frankly, if you look at the action in gold and silver, they look squeezy. And they look like the beginnings of a short squeeze. I mean, you can look at lease rates on silver. You can look at lease rates on SLV, the borrow rates. They're all getting more expensive. And I mean, frankly, it looks like the end game is going to be a failure to deliver. So there seems to be blood in the water as gold broke through the 3,500 level and silver broke over the 3940 level. The action to me looks squeezy.
Do you also see any effect of the recent adding of silver to the strategic materials list by the U.S. government as affecting that sort of a floor under the metals, or do you think it's physical off-taking of metals, and where do you see that the change coming into play?
Yeah, that news broke, a week or 2 weeks ago, that silver was going to be added as a strategic metal. But if you go back, what was it, probably 2 months ago, Russia announced that they would be also adding silver and stockpiling silver. So there is physical demand from all over the world. I mean, the BRICS nations are they're stockpiling gold, and now it looks like they're stockpiling silver. The world understands that the dollar's days, the good days, are behind it, and it's ultimately going to collapse. So you've got central banks all over the world trying to unload gold onto their balance sheet, because gold, I mean, the best way to describe gold, it's the anti-dollar. So as the dollar collapses, gold goes higher, and it makes up for losses that they'll be taking on their balance sheet. On the dollar side, they'll gain on the gold side. One other thing, if you look at the world and come to the conclusion that basically the world is at war, and part of war is financial war. If you think about it, what's the easiest way for the East to blow up the West? Would be to blow up the financial system. And the way to do that, the Achilles heel is gold. And the fuse to that Achilles heel is silver.
Can you start maybe with that international picture that you were describing? Give us more backstory on that, examples of what you're seeing there as far as financial war playing out. Perhaps it's in early stages still, and then domestically as well.
Well, let me just start domestically. I think, well, first off, the country's divided in so many different ways. It's divided between left, right, conservative, liberal, and there's so many other different ways. I mean, by race, by religion, you name it, the country's split. And you're going to be disappointed in this answer, but nobody's going to step up. If you're feeling like you're falling behind or whatever, nobody's going to step up from the government or anywhere else to save you. This illustrates exactly what you, myself, and a lot of other bloggers have talked about over time, is that you need to become as self-sufficient as you possibly can. You need to protect yourself, your family, because no one else is going to do it. Now, internationally, that's pretty simple also. What are tariffs? Tariffs are, if you want to call them, they're fighting words. Every time we put a sanction on Russia, what is that? Is it a greeting card, or is it a financial act of war? From an international standpoint, the world is fighting over trade, if you will, because trade got so imbalanced, where the United States, our biggest export was dollars, and we imported real things. And the world got to the point where they got tired of exporting real stuff and accepting dollars, and they're looking for a way out from under the dollar hegemony. Unfortunately, it is East versus West, but they're acting logically and doing they're making logical decisions, logical acts, and the most logical of all, if they want to get out of dollars, is to stockpile gold. And you're seeing that, you've seen that in the price of gold. You've seen that in the price of gold since October of 2023, when, was it 2023 or 2022? I can't remember. But if you look at the gold chart, you'll see it virtually to the day after the Russian reserves were confiscated, gold started going higher, because the rest of the world looked at that and they said, hey, if the United States can steal Russian gold, can steal Russian assets and get away with it, what could they do to us? They could destroy us. So, the logical move is to offload dollars / treasuries and unload gold, because gold has no borders. Gold is borderless. Gold is accepted everywhere in the world.
Holter's assessment of the dollar's weakness and the tightening pressures in gold and silver markets illustrates the dangerous feedback loop now underway. Lease rates are rising, borrowing costs for silver ETFs are climbing, and the physical market is flashing signs of strain. With gold pushing past $3,500 and silver surging above $39, the market structure suggests not calm accumulation, but the onset of a squeeze. Add to this the recent U.S. decision to classify silver as a strategic material, echoing Russia's own stockpiling efforts, and it becomes clear that both East and West recognize silver as more than an industrial metal. It has become a strategic weapon in the financial war. But Holter frames this struggle as extending beyond market mechanics. Financial sanctions, tariffs, and the weaponization of reserves have transformed global trade into a battlefield. What once looked like policy disagreements now resembles a coordinated war of attrition, with the dollar's dominance caught in the middle. This is the international backdrop he outlines before turning his focus back to domestic realities, where he warns that social division, urban fragility, and the collapse of law and order will magnify the financial chaos still to come.
Well, first off, you cannot be in an urban area. I mean, you could have 100 people like-minded, but you're still going to get wiped out. You still, spit out in your window and hit your neighbor's window. You can't live like that. You've got to live rural. And it's obviously important to have a network, because one guy's got chickens, another guy's a rancher, another guy's a mechanic, another guy's a carpenter. I mean, things happen over time. Things break. You need things fixed. And one person, you can't know everything about everything. You've got to have help. And obviously you need to be like-minded. One of the problems today is because the country is so divided along so many different lines, it's getting harder and harder to find like-minded people, enough thought of different topics coincide with you. I mean, do you really want some purple-haired tranny who lives 1,000 yards away from you? Do you want to rely on something like that? No, you want to rely on, for lack of a better term, salt of the earth people that think the same way you do. You go to bed and you wake up and all your chickens are gone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because
so
that's the way society is today.
Yeah. Right.
Now,
When you have a breakdown of law and order, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. If this was 1930, that was a different time. 1930, we were still somewhat of an agrarian economy, and you had the thought process of neighbors helping neighbors, as opposed to the thought process now of neighbors stripping a weak neighbor clean. And that's the way of the world today, unfortunately. Like you said it with the rule of law. The rule of law is breaking down mentally, because people think, oh, well, you have this and I don't. Your stuff is my stuff. I mean, that's the thought process today. Well, I think very briefly, I would just say, how often do you hear about parents, oftentimes single mothers, teaching their kids how to steal? They teach them how to steal now. And they teach them that they're entitled to it just as anyone else is entitled to it. And it doesn't matter how you get it. I mean, it's been a breakdown of, like you said, a breakdown of the family. But, kids are, the human being is born with either, a good heart, a gray heart, or a dark heart. But I am of the belief that it's the environment that a kid grows up in and what they're taught. I mean, I'm sure you're the same as me. I remember stuff that I was taught when I was 4, 5, 6 years old. I remember that. I remembered if I messed up, I got whacked on the ass. And today, God forbid, kid does something stupid in public and a parent whacks the kid. Well, here comes Child Protective Services. Let's go full circle back to, we talked about student loans. Let's talk about education. I mean, kids are taught, in my opinion, and I mean, this is obviously just an opinion, this is not math, but in my opinion, kids from preschool on are taught, they're not taught correctly. Everything is left leaning, everything is woke. You get out of high school, whether you can do any math or English or whatever, you get into a college, you take a student loan out, which is not going to get repaid, and you get out of college and you got scrambled eggs from brains. So, I mean, it's not just the family unit. This is a plan. This has been a long-term plan to gut the United States by gutting the intelligence of the youth. When we were kids, the United States had, we were always either number 1, 2, or 3 or whatever worldwide in education. Where are we now? Something like number 26, or I don't even know what the number is, but we can't be anywhere near the top. And all you have to do is talk to a 22-year-old today, a kid that supposedly just got out of college. Talk to a 22-year-old, and they got like marbles in their mouth and scrambled eggs for brains. I would just ask, why do you think foreign NGOs are funding so many things that are detrimental to the United States as a country, as a whole? I mean, it's a takedown. And you're asking me where it goes. I mean, I'll just go back to just plain mathematics. The U.S. government is broke, and the entire financial system is going to collapse, and we will spend a spell. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 2 months? Is it 6 months, God forbid, or more? I don't know. But we're going to go through a period of time where your perception will be that your life is within Mad Max.
Holter's final recommendations cut through abstraction and go straight to the heart of survival in a fractured system. He urges individuals to embrace self-sufficiency in its most practical sense, living outside crowded urban centers, building networks of like-minded and skilled individuals, and ensuring that day-to-day needs can be met without reliance on institutions that may fail when stress peaks. In his view, resilience begins not with market trades, but with the ability to withstand disruptions to food, security, and community stability. Education is another cornerstone of his prescription. Holter is blunt. The institutional education system has become part of the problem, producing debt-laden graduates with limited practical skills. He argues that families should prioritize homeschooling where possible and steer younger generations toward trade skills that offer tangible, lifelong value. In a future where systemic collapse is possible, the ability to fix, build, and produce will be far more valuable than abstract degrees funded by debt. For him, the issue is not only economic, it is cultural, tied to the broader breakdown of family structures, community values, and intellectual rigor. For investors, Holter's analysis of precious metals cannot be overstated. Gold's rise is already reflecting the dollar's weakness, but silver's structural setup is unprecedented. Supply deficits, industrial demand, and sovereign stockpiling are colliding with paper markets built on leverage and assumption. If, as Holter suggests, the endgame is a failure to deliver physical silver against paper claims, then the resulting revaluation will not merely enrich speculators, it will redefine the value of real assets against a crumbling fiat system. Investors who wait for confirmation risk being shut out of physical supply altogether. Yet the story is not only about metals. Holter's broader message is that financial war will not remain confined to charts and balance sheets. It will bleed into society, shaping how communities survive, how families adapt, and how nations reorder their priorities. The United States, once grounded in agrarian resilience and community bonds, has become dangerously dependent on fragile systems. If trust collapses alongside the dollar, the consequences will be not just economic, but social and moral. In the end, Holter's counsel is as urgent as it is sobering. Build resilience now, financially, practically, and socially. Precious metals will provide critical protection, but they are not a substitute for community strength or self-sufficiency. The financial war is not a possibility, but a trajectory already in motion, and the window to prepare is closing fast. Thank you for watching. If you found this discussion valuable, please like this video, subscribe for more in-depth analysis, and join the conversation in the comments. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you unflinching insights into the forces reshaping the financial world.